you're liking my channel, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Right now, do it. Right now, do it. Hey, y'all. Hey. Y'all are coming in. If you are just joining me, hey, Monica. Hey, Shatika. Hey, Just Me. Hey, April. Hey, Forge Man. Hey, Royalty. Hey, Bless. Hey, y'all. Hey. Welcome back to my channel. This is Melissa here, your host for this live stream. Welcome back. For those of you that are new, you just saw the commercial. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because tonight I'm super excited about tonight. No kidding. Like, I'm not even playing. Before let's get started. Let's get a little bit of housekeeping out the way. Basically, if you have any questions, y'all already know, drop the questions down in the link. This is going to be I think it's going to be funny, transparent. It's going to be very honest conversation, because I know these women, that's what they're going to bring. So in the process of that, just make sure you leave a comment. Y'all, tonight we're going to ignore the trolls. Friday, I was trolled. I mean, they were out, and I'm just going to ignore them today. I'm not going to give them the attention that they want. But moderators, please stay on it. They don't have to agree with what we say, but the foolishness and mayhem, they got to go. So anyway, welcome. I see somebody, they're like, I got my popcorn. I am ready. Y'all, I'm super excited. Let me introduce my co-host as far as what they mean to me, and then I'll allow them to introduce themselves and then we'll just start with the conversation. So the first person I want to introduce probably has known me as a married woman the longest. Actually, she has. She was at our wedding. We went to church together. We went to the same church where my husband and I met. She spoke I never will forget what the toast, so to speak, what she spoke over our lives. This woman is, she means a lot to me. And all these women, I don't even speak to them a lot, but they mean a lot to me. And it just shows that you don't have to be on the phone with somebody every day, all day to have a connection. You know what I mean? And she just really means that to me, auntie, so to speak. Absolutely. This next girl, Miss Tanya, she is my sister. I'm telling you, we go way back. She's sitting in the apartment of the child that we prayed for. Okay, come on now. Many moons ago. So she knows young Melissa. She knows. So Joanne, teenage to young adult Melissa to adult Melissa. Tanya came along when my husband and I were in the military. We met in Hawaii. We also met in church, and we just connected. And she would come. This was the workingest military person that I ever met in my life. I don't know how, but she was always over my house. And I'm like, you going to work? She stayed, and she was sitting, hold my youngest, who is now my oldest, 25. She would sit and play with Sarah and everything. And she is truly another person that I do not speak to often, and probably as often as I should, but we are so connected. We have connected when she was going through something, pick up the phone and, internet, whatever, just never a phone call away or inbox away. She is my sister. I love her. Last but not least, y'all see Diva. Y'all see her. You know what? Y'all see her. This is Miss Kira. She is probably, if you want to say known the longest, she knew high school Melissa. Wow. And so we went to high school together, and through social media, we reconnected, and she is another person I do not speak to every day. But you would think, because of the connection and the bond, that you would think we'd be on the phone all day, every day, but we don't, it doesn't require that, I don't think, all the time. But welcome, everybody. Thank you for accepting the invitation. I know it was like, what? But you all accepted joyfully. So thank you. So the topic, before you guys, I don't know. So the topic of today is, how do you know that he, and I added she, how do you know that he's the one? So we're all married to men. So that's the only thing I think that we could speak to, honestly. But generally speaking, we can also have the conversation. It goes across the board, I think. So tell me, so we're going to go around robin, because I think it's very important before we talk about knowing if someone else is the one. We got to know where we're at. So tell me where you were when you met your husband, starting with Joanne, then we'll go to Tanya, and then Kira. briefly tell us where you were at in that space.
Okay, so I'm probably a little different in that I was 15. And so we were part of the same friend group. So it was purely platonic, purely y'all. There was nothing hidden intention in my heart or his at the beginning. We were purely friends.
Nice.
And then it sounds like something out of the movies. We went all to the movies together and we happened to sit by each other. And something happened in the movie theater. Like he didn't touch me. He's never been that kind of person, but something happened. And I was like, I feel something different. But I left it alone. I'm like playing it cool. But then we went to a party. Actually, it was his ex-girlfriend had a party, New Year's Eve, and we were on the dance floor, and we danced together, and we've been together ever since.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So in essence, it's fair to say it wasn't something you were looking for, but it came to you.
No.
Nice. And so you were 15. How old was he?
He was 17.
Okay. And you guys, the panelists, you guys have any questions? And just okay. All right, Tanya, where were you?
All right. Well, I met Raul through my cousin Trevor. Trevor and Raul were best friends.
Okay.
And he would always be with Trevor. So Raul, wherever they go, they were always together. They hung out at school. So when they traveled, they were at our house. They ate. And I told Mom one day, I was in the 6th grade, and I said, "Ooh, I'm gonna marry him." And my mama said, "No, you not, because he don't have you to remember this word, studying about." That's right. What she said. She said, "He don't have you to study about." I said, "That's all right. He gonna be my husband." So I was in the 6th grade when I met Raul, and I said he was gonna be my husband.
Wow. And how old? Raul's not that much older than you.
1 year.
I was gonna say
baby. So I was probably 12, and Raul was 13.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Spoke that thing into existence.
Yes, you did. So I have to know, like, at what point did you meet? So
oh my goodness. So we went through high school. Raul was in ROTC. Yes. I was in ROTC in high school, and we went on drill meets. Raul had a girlfriend. I didn't have a boyfriend, but I was like, ooh, I just kept my eyes. One day at a basketball game, we were sitting on the bleachers together. He was at the rivalry schools. He sat down and I sat down, and his girlfriend came and sat in between us. And I said, "Oh, okay then. All right. That's just the beginning." But I knew that that's who I was going to be with. And it didn't matter. You can have this, because guess what? Time will tell. Our senior year, we went to a party in July. I had graduated, went to a party. I had a half a wine cooler.
Oh, so yes, you was doing it.
I didn't even need a whole one, just a half a wine cooler, and I kissed him.
Okay, so it took that. So from 6th grade. Okay, next, Miss Taplin.
So I was definitely older. I met my husband in college. My freshman year. So he's like 3 years older than me. I was a freshman. We met at a party. We never dated. We did like the college version of dating. And so we did that most of our time in college, and we both graduated in 1997 and lost contact. I didn't see him again until 2000. That would be 2004, because it was the Sunday after my 30th birthday that we met at church. And at this point, we had been attending the same church for at least 2 years and had never bumped into each other. It was Easter Sunday, 2004. And it was a couple of days after my 30th birthday. And at that time, I had just finished a 6-year relationship. And I was madly in love. I thought that was my husband, all of those things. And I had a practice as an adult or a young adult of whenever I would end a relationship, I took my time, to heal, to figure out what I wanted, what I did to make the relationship not be successful. So when I met my husband, I had zero interest in a boyfriend, in dating. Definitely marriage was not on my radar. He, on the other hand, on that Sunday that he saw me, he knew then that I was going to be his wife, because he called me by my entire name. And I'm like, "You remember my name?" all that good stuff. And so that was a Sunday. We went out to eat on that Wednesday in Bible study, after Bible study, and we've been joined at the hip ever since.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful.
How many of you just off rip did you speak to your husbands about this topic? Just ask different questions.
Oh no.
I didn't. No.
You didn't.
You know how I do it. You say show up, I showed up.
Yeah. When they were when I was doing the thumbnail or whatever, and I was like, "Babe, how do you think I was the one?" And he said, "You just know, the man's version."
Yeah, he does. My husband say that all the time, especially to my single friends who might, be dating a guy for a long time and they like waiting for him to pop the question. My husband like, no, that is not how that works. We know immediately whether or not we're gonna marry you.
So
all that 6-7 years trying to figure it out. They know from the jump whether or not they're gonna do it. So
period. So speaking of immediately, my story, we met at church. So let me see, we were both 20, and so this is older, and we both were going through a counseling session to become counselors at the church. So we were staying after church a lot together, and we would just happen to be sitting by each other every session. Wow. So finally, maybe about 6 to 8 weeks later, I was coming from, so you know how Chop is, Joanne. So he was parked in back of the church. I was parked in the front of the church. He ain't had no business in the front of that church at all. He comes from the front and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" or whatever. And he was like, I forgot what the line that he used, but it was something similar to his car was broken or something like that. But anyway, we ended up talking after church. My son was in the car, and he was, Alan was doing whatever he was doing, but him and I were talking outside of the car, and he asked me for my number and everything. But we had stayed at the church outside talking until like the janitor left. Like it was one of those things. And so my friend Cheryl passed by and she's like, "Do you want me to take Alan?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can take him, So she took Alan and we still just talking it up. And then we talked on the phone. So finally evening comes. I'm like, "Okay, you got," he was in the Army at this time. And I'm like, "Okay, you got work to do and I need to go pick up my son." So he's like, "Okay, well, can I ask you out to, whatever." So I exchanged numbers and everything. And I get back to Cheryl's house and she's like, "Oh, you gonna marry him and y'all all lovey-dovey." And I'm like, "No, we not. He's so cute," and all this other stuff. And literally, I sound crazy saying this, but we stood on the phone all night, through the night. The next day, I think we went out to eat somewhere. Then we went to Belton Lake, local lake, with the swing and everything. And he literally asked me to marry him. He was like, I know what I want. And yeah, and we've been stuck at the hip ever since. Yes. Yep, that's what happened. So I love the fact that we all have similarities, but very different stories. And that's why I just knew, I don't know why, it was just the Lord to bring us all together and for me to choose you guys. So at the top of your head, this is the question at hand. At the top of your head, I want you to answer the question and then we'll go back and dissect it. How do you guys know? How do you know? When I'll answer last, but here I am 2 days actually speaking to him, even though we were going to church and everything else. I said yes. How did I know? You haven't spoken to him in college and forever. Miss 6th grade, he mine. Miss 15. How do we know? Anybody can join in. We can. You want to go pictures?
For me, it felt different. Like I said, my boyfriend before him, I thought he was the one.
Okay.
But it felt forced and unnatural, if I can say that.
Okay.
It just didn't feel right. It seemed like I definitely knew that was something that I wanted. And it definitely felt forced. And with my husband, it did not feel that way. It was very natural. I felt comfortable. I could be myself in every area of my life. And that's actually how I knew he was the one, because I just felt comfortable and it didn't feel forced.
Nice. Tanya?
I said it then. I believed it. I prayed for him and I went on to college and we continued to talk. But I literally, in my heart, I knew that Raul was the person for me. Like, from sixth, I know that sounds like it's so young, but from the sixth grade, and I can go back even further. We used to actually go to the same pre-K together.
Nice.
But I didn't know him and he didn't know me. But Miss Goodwin, which is the lady that kept both of us,
she remembered.
Yeah, and you know how they act. Oh, I knew that.
Right.
He didn't prophesy that.
Goodwin said, I did that.
I knew it. I was like, wow, that lady didn't know anything. But literally, I believed it. Later on, when we were at the City of Refuge, Pastor Anderson did prophesy that we would be married, but that was many years later because I had graduated from undergrad and graduate when Raul and I decided to get married.
So when we met you guys were newlyweds.
What year was that? Do you remember?
Sarah was born.
Well, we prayed over Tiana, so yes, we were newlyweds. We got married in 98.
Yeah, we prayed for Tiana. Like you were still pregnant.
Yeah.
Or hadn't even discovered you were pregnant. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably it. Hadn't discovered.
You hadn't discovered yet. All right, Joanne. How did you know?
Well, I keep shaking my head, right? Because it was one of those things. I was 15. I know the Lord clearly spoke to me that he was your husband. He was like, that's your husband. And so we were talking on the phone one evening. And I told him, I said, the Lord told me you're going to be my husband. He was like, quiet on the phone. He was like, really? I'm like, yep, that's what the Lord told me.
And how old were you then?
15.
Wow. I believe because that's happened to me.
You know, I have to piggyback on the feeling. You just know.
Yeah.
You just know. And I didn't struggle, but for lack of a better word, I struggled with having that as an answer because the flip side of that is we do have to be careful with our emotions, which is going to be the next part of the conversation that I want to bring up is where were you guys spiritually? Because we can rely on our emotions and we can really wreck some things with how we feel.
Right.
So I know, and I bet $1 that you guys were in a place, you were in a settled place. You had to have been, I think. So anybody want to speak on that?
I'll start. When Raul and I went to college, and Raul, I was at South Carolina State working on my master's degree, and Raul got orders to go to Hawaii. And we were dating at the time, but you know, that's a big difference, South Carolina to Hawaii.
Right.
And I went ahead and said I was going to go to grad school, and Raul went on in the military because that's what his orders said. Right. But when I was getting ready to graduate with my master's, Raul invited me and said I would pay for your ticket. But the whole thing is I would have missed graduation. And you know, I jumped on that plane because that's what we do.
Right.
But yeah, I missed graduation. I went to undergrad graduation. What's the difference? It's the same thing. You walk across the stage.
I said the same thing.
You know, you're done. I did what I wanted to do. But when Raul said that, you asked where was I at spiritually? When I went to visit Hawaii, Raul said before I got there, you'll know everything you need to know about me and more. So hear me. I packed my stuff because I know I wasn't coming back. This man gonna ask me to marry him. And I was like, woohoo. It didn't happen like that. It literally, when I got there, God said he was going to reveal some stuff to me. And he literally revealed it. I stayed, must be 30 days, but every day something was revealed about his character and about mine. Ooh, and one day we were in the bed and Raul thought I wanted something, which I didn't, but I wanted to be filled with the Holy Ghost. And that's what my prayer was, that I would be filled with the Holy Ghost. And I kept saying, fill me, fill me, fill me. And through that, God filled me with the Holy Ghost that one night. And then from that, I went back and took a job in Florida. And I said, whenever God tells you he's ready, you let me know, because I'm going to, you know, I'm getting ready to do me. I'm going for my career. And that's what I did. I left and did my CFY in Florida. I'm a speech pathologist. And I left and went to Florida. And Lord, behold, God was working on Raul in Hawaii.
Come on now.
Raul was at work at Tripler, and Marche and some of them called him and said, you need to get to church. Pastor got a word for you. And Raul came to church, and the word was that you can go get your wife. And I was his wife, and I was in Florida working.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. I can kind of say the same thing where, and I think it's you all are saying the same thing. I think I was in a place I wasn't looking. It was the furthest thing from my mind. I had been enough was enough with the duds. So I had gotten to the point where I was like, there's something in me. I need to start working on me. Yeah. So I was on my prayer, fasting, get out my face, Jill Scott, Erykah Badu grind. Like I was there. Yeah. I wasn't an angry Black woman, but I knew even at such a young age, I keep attracting these guys that don't mean well by me. Something is wrong. There's something going on with me. I'm not going to say wrong, but there's a dysfunction in me. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't looking, and here he come bebopping. And then that's the end of the story. So, Kiara, what, do you want to add something?
Yeah, same for me. And I think that's why it's so important to work on yourself and be intentional in working on yourself, but also work on yourself for you. I'm not in favor of I'm going to do this so that I can get a man. Yes. Or I'm going to do this so I can attract this. No, you need to work on yourself for yourself. Mm-hmm. Let you be the focus. And that's what I did. And that's why when my husband came along, I wasn't looking, I wasn't expecting it, but I was definitely in a better place to receive him. So yes. A lot of that baggage that we tend to carry from relationship to relationship, a lot of it was gone. Of course, some of it still did exist, but a lot of it was gone because I was just in a better place. And I love how we all bring up our relationship with God and the role that even church played in our relationships. And I was actually thinking as we were all talking, I wonder what that is like today. Because a lot of us have turned away from church. Mm-hmm. We go online to church. So that connection or that opportunity that we had to make those connections, what does that look like now?
We've had that conversation on this channel, and after we finish with however long this conversation will take, because I feel so many other conversations coming from this conversation already. Mm-hmm. I do want to take a moment to have, a panel discussion about singleness and what does that look like here in America today. But we'll say that later. But, one thing that I said, shouting out to the single ladies, where fantasy man versus reality. Mm-hmm. Once God said, okay, he's the one, how much of that fantasy was the reality?
Mine was out the door because I was anti men with children. I don't want you. If you had a child, that was like at the top of my list. You were scratched off the list if you had a child. I didn't even date men who had children. And it's so ironic. At least maybe 2 or 3 months before I ran into my husband again, one of my great friends at the time, she was like, well, Kiara, we're like 30 years old now. So the pool of men who don't have children, who have not been married, is shrinking. Mm-hmm. So she was like, maybe you need to consider men with babies. I'm like, girl, no. Lo and behold, here come my husband. Not only did he have a daughter, he was divorced. I'm like, what? Like, so he was definitely not my fantasy. Right. But it's been a blessing for sure. Because even that part of our relationship, who he was made a difference in how that was handled also. So yeah, definitely a big difference between reality and the fantasy.
And I wanted to chime in, we were young, so we still had a lot of growing to do. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is because we were friends first, he knew me and this mouth of mine, honey. I was my whole
God bless all of
them. My whole authentic self. And he was like, one day he had made me mad about something. We were young. And boy, girl, I cussed him from A to Z. My church going self. I cussed him from A to Z. And he told me, he looked at me, he said, I ain't never heard a woman cuss like you. I said, well, now you mad.
Now you know.
And so we grew together, but he's seen all sides of me. Yeah. And so we matured together. Mm-hmm. I can say that he was now that I look back at it, he was a mature 17-year-old.
Okay.
You know, he was very mature for his, but I was too. So, but we grew together. But honey, it was no fantasy. And I tell people, I said my knight in shining armor wore tennis shoes and a cutoff shirt.
Listen, right. Listen, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that, Tanya.
Fantasy and reality. I really don't know because I didn't grow up in a family that had a mother and a father. I was raised by a single mother. My husband, Raul, was raised by a single mother. So God had placed me in homes when I was in Florida. I was at a church, the City of Refuge, not the city, Truth Reveal. And the pastor there, Pastor Clark, I think I was placed in homes with families to see what a family life was like. One of the families that I stayed with, the little boy lost his vision, but I saw the church pray, and you know, they took him to these hospitals and tried to restore him, and none of that worked. But I know that prayer worked for him, and he was restored his sight. But I think God put those families in my life so that I could see what a family was like. So the reality of it is I didn't grow up with that, but God allowed me to see it through other people's lives. And it helped me for what we have today. Like I would have never had those. I don't have a fantasy or reality because I knew my reality was, it was a fantasy,
right?
Because you know, I thought this is all I knew. A single mom.
Right.
I mean, my mama did it all. She did everything. She raised 2 kids. We both went to college, but I didn't have that vision to reach out and say, this is what I want, or I didn't have those pictures on my wall. You know, the pictures I had was Michael Jackson. Y'all remember that? We had the
right.
All of that was it. I didn't have fantasy. That was it for me.
Right. So y'all, if y'all are in the chat, y'all listening, it's a good conversation. Drop those shoes. Y'all know how we do, but also drop a question. I'm looking and I don't see many questions. But we're going to continue to have a conversation. So quick rapid fire question before we go on to the next topic. My off cuff answer also is, the truth of the matter is, how do I know he's the one? We really don't know. It was all a matter of faith. Would you agree?
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
It was a matter of faith. And that was the biggest thing. I remember when we were in marriage counseling with Elder Moore, and he said, he was talking to Vanilla and I, and he was like, how do you know he's not going to be a rapist, or he's not going to leave you, or he's not going to this, and he's not going to that? Here I am, 21, very wise, like you said, for my age. And I told him, I said, the truth of the matter is, I don't know. I can only know what's in this moment, what he's showing me, where it's at, because the truth of the matter is 18, 19, 15-year-old Melissa could never, ever design the journey that we've been on to get to where we're at. It's the journey. So ladies, yes, finding out, is he the one, is important. And I want to talk about red flags and ignoring red flags. I think it's a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, the work doesn't start until you wake up that next day after I do. That's the honest to God truth.
Say it ain't so, honey.
Go ahead, Tanya.
So I married Raul, and Raul flew to Hawaii. From Hawaii to Florida to marry me. I don't know if y'all remember in 98 in July, Florida was in flames. So Raul missed his flight out of Hawaii to come to Florida. So we had to drive in the flames to get our marriage license, because we were supposed to go the day before, but Raul missed the flight. So you know, I'm all upset. The reality of it all, when we did all of that, stayed there for a month, and then came back to the States, came back to Hawaii, and I'm all excited. I walk in the apartment, there's no bed, there's no TV, and there's no phone. I said, what in the world? Raul sold everything to come to Florida to marry me. Bless their heart, nothing. So like in my mind, you know, I'm on the phone calling my mama, what in the world? I said, he don't even have a phone. I can't even call my mom. I got to go to somebody else's house to call my mama. Raul worked night shift, so he worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. What the heck am I going to do in a house all night? No, I was like this. I didn't know what to do, but I'm going to tell you, City of Refuge, that was my haven. Like, you know how much we went to church Wednesday, Friday, twice on Saturday, and twice on Sunday. You don't know why God puts you where he puts you and why, but that was our appointed place and time. And the people I walked into and the paths and the like you said, I was at your house for lunch when I should have been at work. But those were things that God ordained, and those were appointed places and times for me. And it changed us so much. It made us grow. It made us grow spiritually. It made us grow as a family. And those are things that I appreciate in our relationship now.
Nice. Kiera?
For me, a big part of that early stage for us was me trying to figure out what I wanted our lives to look like. I can't talk about my marriage without talking about the loss that we experienced in the beginning of our marriage. Mm-hmm. We lost our firstborn son 6 months after we got married. Mm. And it completely changed us as individuals. And what we failed to do at that time was acknowledge how it changed our relationship. Experiencing that kind of loss changes how you love, changes how you trust. It changed our faith. It changed if I believed it in that moment, if I even believed that God loved me. So we're talking about year one of being married, having this huge cloud over our relationship that affected how we treated one another. So we spent, if I'm honest, a good 10 years just being happy that we were married, right? That we survived, that we weren't killing each other, that we still, could look at each other, although it was very hard, I'll say, because we both had placed this wall to protect ourselves. So I think the disadvantage for us in that season is that I think my love story would have been a lot different had we not experienced that loss. And because we did, like I said, year 10 is really when we started to focus on each other. And we let that wall down where we felt comfortable loving, and we were willing to be vulnerable. All those things that you kind of go through during that newlywed phase. Right. It started 10 years later for us. So I think that makes our love story within our marriage a lot different for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As you were sitting here, as you were talking and saying that, not to minimize Kobe and that experience at all, but I also was reminded of our own troubles or hiccups,
struggles.
And so I think instead of it being a different love story, that was just your love. Like, so for us, we got married, and gosh, I don't know how soon after he went to Korea, and we didn't see each other for a year because we couldn't afford a plane ticket. So when he got back, our daughter was a year old, because this was back in the day. So I mean, he didn't have what he have now. So I just, as you were speaking, I was like, yeah, but it could have been this, and other people had their own struggles and different things like that. And I think it's so important for the single people on the live, and those of you that are catching the replay, you got to understand, finding out if he or she is the one. Okay, that's check one, but it's that dredging through the mud, and then we get to the flowers, and then boom, there go the mud again.
Right.
So really, is he the one has nothing to do with how much money he has, as much as who he is and what his character is and what he brings to the table as far as that is concerned.
I want to say something, because you brought up a good point when you talk about, if my story was the loss of our child, yours was something else. And when I talk about grief and loss, that there are different types of loss. Yes. So imagine marrying your dream guy, right? He's rich, got this big mansion, all this, y'all get married, and 6 months later, he loses his job, all his investments. That's still a loss, right? He's lost everything. Yes. Now what are you going to do? Right. So that's why, to your point, it has to be about more than money, because we all know you can lose a job. Now what? Yeah. You can lose a limb. He good and fine today. Okay. What happens when that beer belly happens? He becomes a diabetic and has to get a leg amputated.
Right.
You know it's so many things that can happen throughout life that you really have to have substance. You have to have a connection that goes beyond the surface and, looking good and all that stuff. So to your point, it definitely matters. All that stuff matters. It
definitely matters. And I think when we reflect on what dating looks like nowadays, of course, outside looking in, we're an anomaly. We've been married for more than 5 years.
Yeah.
We are an absolute anomaly. And those of us that have reached 20 everybody's got 20 years, right?
No, I'm 15.
You're 15. I thought so. I thought you were a little bit young. And how many years you guys been married, Joanne?
We've been married 30. It'll be this is our 36th year.
What, girl? Jesus.
And we've been together. So this is our 41st year together. December 31. 41 years.
Love it. Wow. Love it, love it, love it. And
but can I say something about being married 36 years? You are not the same person that you were 36 years ago.
Say it again.
Something else we don't talk about. You think you just gonna
I tell them that all the time.
Yeah, I'm not this. You are not the same person that you were when you got married.
That's
so we have to consider that also.
Yes. So when we're talking about how do I know this person is the one, I'm hearing none of us, of course, looks played a part.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, sexuality played a part. All of that plays a part. But these men, even we laugh about Raul selling everything, that showed his character, though.
Mm-hmm.
It did. It did.
Okay. Sometimes I need to hear that.
No, because a man, here's the thing. You didn't pick him up from jail.
No.
He sold and sacrificed and sold to get the woman that he wanted. He worried about anything else later.
Today, Instagram would tell you, girl, don't marry him.
Yep.
That's so yeah.
No, that's character. Now, of course, it was shocking, but you got to also remember his age. I can see 20-something-year-old Vanell doing that. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, Raul did it and that wasn't even that he did it, but he didn't tell me. So when we walked in the house, I'm like, ain't no chairs, ain't no bed, no tea. And by the way, when I went to visit Hawaii for a month.
Right.
So I saw the bachelor pad with everything in it.
Right.
So when I got there, I'm like, where the bed?
It's gone.
There. We had a beam. Look, the first 6 months of our marriage, we had a big old life-size bean bag. Wow. That's what I slept on. I was like, wow.
Would you have married him had you known he had to sell everything?
Heck yeah.
Exactly.
Let me tell you something. When I tell you I love Raul Clark,
let me tell you something.
I have loved Raul Clark.
He loves Raul.
I would have came over however they told me I had to come. If I had to take 10 boats and I had to be out on the water for 20 years, I would have still married Raul. But I've loved him forever. Like, I don't think through all the ebbs and flows, I still love Raul.
Absolutely.
And everybody that knows me know that I love Raul. Like, that's what they look. The kids at school, I'm a speech pathologist, and the kids at school, they be, touching her. I'd be like, look, I'm married to Raul. Don't do that. Yeah. Everybody knows Raul. But yes, I think whatever I had to do, I would have still married Raul.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So to your point, Kiera, I think that's very important because, again, this topic was brought up by one of my single subscribers, and they wanted to talk about it. And I was like, you know what? I want us to have this panel and we all do this topic justice. And you make up a great point. I'm not the same person my husband married. Mm-mm. He's not the same person I married. Mm-mm. But we were forged through everything that we've gone through, good, bad, or indifferent, to reach to where we're at. And again, to say, is this person the one? To me, it's more about the conversation that we had back then. But see, nowadays, I'm hearing y'all aren't talking.
They don't.
They texting. The stuff that we talked about to make me go, oh, okay. You guys aren't texting. Aren't talking. And to me, yes, the sex, yes, this, yes, that. But honestly, it was the late night conversations with the phone.
Yes, all night. Falling asleep with the phone.
I'm not asleep. Knowing you sleepy, girl.
Knowing you sleepy. He got formation in the morning and everything. But we're asking questions. What do you want? What does it look like for you? What does this? And then hitting prayer a little bit, and then back from prayer and all of that. And so to answer your question, also, the people that are in the chat, you have to have these conversations to know, because as they're answering, you're checking off in your spirit. Okay, yeah. And so that's why I said, well, the difference between fantasy and reality. Before my husband came along, I had a whole bridal book. That was a thing back in the 90s, early 90s. You know, we call them vision boards now, but no, you got to have a book and you got to tear all the pages out the bridal book and this and that and the other and all this other crap. Name it and claim it again. And the truth of the matter is, when he came along, there was so much, even to his, like, I like dark chocolate man. He is a high yellow dude. So, you know, and he didn't have much rank back then, you know, but again, Instagram today will say, girl, you better hold out for some sergeant major. Well, Instagram, I'm telling you guys, and you guys can chime in. But for those of you in the chat, you're enjoying this conversation and you're wondering, okay, how do I know? Stay your butt off Instagram.
Yes.
And social media. Because they are lying to y'all.
Yes, go ahead, they are. They are liars. Yes.
I think we have to have those conversations, like you said. We talked about everything.
Yeah.
And so I think some have lost that art of conversation. My husband and I, we still have talks about everything. Now, sometimes if it gets a little heated, we need to pause.
Right.
And then come back. But we're going to finish this conversation.
But you learned that. 15-year-old you was still, you know.
Even he trying to go to sleep. Wake up.
Right. We need to talk.
I would tell somebody that's young to go through every season with someone. And I tell my daughters that now. You need to walk that walk, and you need to know what happens on Christmas. You need to know what happens on a birthday. You need to know what happens when a loved one dies. You need to know what Valentine's Day is going to be like. I tell my girls that so much, and because I think that's important. I realize that Raul is not, he doesn't give gifts. Now, he'll give them, but he going to tell you before you got it. It's not going to be under, you know, you're going to know way in advance. He can't keep no secrets. Tanya, guess what I got? Raul, that's not how it works. So, but I knew that when I dated him, before I got it, he would tell me about it on the phone, and then I would open the door and it was there. So nothing has changed. Right. Valentine's Day, Raul lost his mother when we were, I was pregnant with Talia. Well, Mother's Day is something till this day we don't celebrate. I've learned to keep pressing. I don't worry about him stopping and pausing. If the kids do something, I'm excited, but I understand that it's a hard holiday for him. But when we were dating, I lost a cousin at 19, and I was probably 20. I was in my freshman year at NC State. And we went through that together. Raul took off 2 weeks. By the way, nobody knew we were dating in our family, but Raul took off 2 weeks and came. Remember, he was my cousin's best friend. So he came to be with my cousin's best friend, but we was taking care. Tierney had a daughter, Brescia, and we were taking care of the baby. But I tell my kids, we got to go through some stuff together. We experienced some holidays. We experienced some deaths. So when we got married as a couple, I knew what to expect. And I think that when you have an expectation, you're not gonna, it's not a failure, or it's not, oh, what could have happened or what did happen. I already knew I wasn't getting, I was gonna get something for Christmas, but I already knew by November, I already knew what it was gonna be. Because we can't hold it. I knew my birthday, we're going somewhere, but guess what? I'm gonna plan it because that's what we do. Yeah. I knew those things about him in advance. And I think when you know that going into a marriage, or when you're dating and you learn those things, you're prepared for what's going to happen.
So good.
I agree with that.
We're going to have a part 2. I already know it. But
going through stuff. Also, because we were taught when we were younger, you watch and pay attention to how a man treats his mother, because that's how he'll treat you. I agree with that. Also, watch how he interacts with his friends. Is he a backstabber? Is he lying? Is he falling out with people? Because that speaks to a man's character also. Because that's one of the things that attracted me to my husband. I love how he's loyal to his friends.
This is so good.
He looks out for them, and not just in superficial ways, but on a deep level, the way that they connect. That to me spoke to his character. So I think it's important to look out for stuff like that. Is your dude shady? If he is, it's just, I believe it's just a matter of time.
You're right.
Start being shady with you.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And wow, this is so good. Y'all, everything y'all said was just so good, because I'm thinking about outside looking in, because none of us have had the experience of dating someone via text, via social media. That's what they do. Slide right. I like you.
Yeah.
Blah, blah,
I couldn't
blah,
do it. I couldn't do it.
What is the advice that you have for the people? Because this is their reality. The ladies in the chat, that's their reality.
Right.
My number one advice, and you guys echo, add to it, have fun. My number one advice is make sure that you are a part of their real world.
Right.
To your point, Kiera.
Yes.
Someone that I know who shall remain nameless, he ain't watching, but anyway, he is the master at controlling his women and keeping them off social media and keeping him off social media and stuff like that. So our sisters are being played, our brothers are being played, because I'm not going to just blame the brothers, but they're being played because the old school interactions are not happening.
Mm-hmm.
These kids think it's normal to just get text. But us, we're old school. We're like, if dude's not calling you between this time and this time, he married.
Where is he?
Right.
Exactly. Where are you? And
he married.
Yes.
Because these are guys 20, I mean, here we go, 20, 30 years ago, they made it work with beepers and pagers and payphones.
Uh-huh.
So what would you say your number one advice? Someone's listening and like, yeah, that's easy for y'all to say, but I'm dealing with Mr. Text Me Only.
Kiara said something. She said character, and I would have to agree. Raul, I mean, if Melissa, you know, he don't have a lot of friends. That's not Raul. But when we got to the City of Refuge, do you remember Raul used to shine the brass on the door every Friday? And Raul used to sing on the choir, and he used to shine that brass. I think that when you watch somebody that does those things, believe it or not, my husband is still that guy today. I mean, I can remember him in the choir, going early to choir practice, staying all day, because that's how long they stayed to me. And then on Friday nights, regardless, I would be I was on hospitality, but I would be waiting at the end. That's how come I knew everybody in the church, because my husband was shining the brass. He never talked to anybody.
He's very quiet.
He wasn't messy. Still to this day, not messy. He's a loner. He likes to be alone. But and it's so funny because my personality is the total opposite.
Oh God.
I know everybody. I know, first name. I know their kids. I mean, I still do. But I think the character of a man and watching them is everything. And I think that's the best thing. That was the best thing for me, because even the things that you saw in when you saw us, that was him behind closed doors.
Oh, absolutely.
He's still that person, and his characters. He's still that person that opens the door. He's still that person that I don't like morning. Don't come with that good morning junk. My husband, it don't matter. Good morning, Tanya Clark. Good morning.
Right.
But that's him. I mean, I want to get up and be quiet, do what I got to do, and leave out the house. And Raul is the total opposite. He wants to see you. He wants to and that's great. But I just want to get up and do what God told me to do today, and I'll be back. Now, when I come home, I'm ready to talk.
Right.
But I think I like what she said, and that's what it would be for me, his character. I love to, the things that you don't see in the light, but the things that happens in the dark, and make sure it's reality.
That's right.
And then with technology, put me on FaceTime. Right. If he ain't FaceTiming you, honey, no, I don't care what. If a man want to talk to you, he'll find a way.
He will.
Oh, right. Say it again. Another rapid question. Raise your hand if I know he's the one, which is Mr. Matthews, Mr. Taplin, Mr. Clark. That meant he was perfect.
Not at all.
You said raise your hand or raise your glass.
Oh, we can raise the glass.
Flogger.
Okay, so we drunk to that.
Right.
I know he's the one. Ladies in the chat, get rid of this fantasy that you're not gonna go through stuff.
Right.
And that can mean anything. That is broad. That is a broad thing. Our Mr. Perfects, my Mr. Perfect, he is I'm sorry, the one is not perfect.
Right.
And that is something that I wanted to touch on, because if you are, especially in a church, that was my number one crush. To me, Kiera, it was just as devastating to learn that my husband was not perfect because he was Boaz. What do you mean? What do you mean? That whatever. You're Boaz.
Right.
And Boaz is right next to Jesus. So hello. And it took me, y'all laughing, but y'all know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So ladies in the chat, that's the other thing. In your pursuit to finding the one, I'm hearing a lot of resounding number one, you have to make sure that you're the one.
Right.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Number two, make sure that what you're looking for, I'm not saying don't settle, because we'll talk about not settling here in a minute. But the other part about that is, just because he is the one doesn't mean that he's not going to disappoint you, hurt you, frustrate you, and everything else, because he will, and he is.
Yes.
None of us have been married even up to 15 years without heartache, tears, laughter, and then turn around holding hands, praying we're going to get through this and fight together.
Amen.
If anybody has, just let me know so I can have you be the highlight, because I don't know anybody. And that's why I chose you, ladies, because I wanted to have an honest conversation, but I also wanted to have a transparent conversation and real. There's nothing more frustrating. How do you guys feel about those memes? A real man will blah, 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 blah. A real man will blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, y'all, that a real man with nothing. How about that?
Right.
Those are memes.
Right.
You know.
And also, when you're setting expectations for that real man, make sure that you can match whatever it is that you're looking for. A lot of times women have this checklist of all the things they want, and they themselves can't even match that. So your checklist man wouldn't even be interested in you. So I'm like, what?
I'm so tickled.
I mean, that man does not want you, sis. He does not want you. So make sure that you can match whatever it is that you are looking for. Definitely.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good
So
word.
good.
Very good word.
So
Very good.
That's why, going back to your point, I forgot who was talking about it. I think we all hit on it. A guy knows what he wants when he wants it.
Right.
Even if he's not necessarily ready to settle. Now, here we are. We all have found our men in their, I was going to say infancy, but no, it's not the infancy.
It felt like it was. You know, they like 20 years behind us. Yes, they were babies.
Yes.
I agree.
But in their younghood. So, you know, little bebopping 19, 20-year-old Vanille is not the same as 48-year-old Vanille. But the thing is, he had enough wherewithal about himself to say, she's the one and I'm not letting her go. Right. And so for those of you, I cringe when I see these young girls, you know, losing time, patience, and everything else, waiting on a ring. For 15, 10 years, 5 years. Girl, what?
Your best years of your life now.
No, sis, if he wants to be with you, he will ask you to marry him. That's just the bottom line. If that's what you're... Go ahead.
Can I chime in? Now, these days, I would say that. But when I was with Raul, I went to college and grad school. So we waited 7 years.
That makes sense.
But I was focused because there were some things I wanted in life. I wanted to bring to the table. Yeah. Raul was focused because there were some things he wanted to bring to the table. Raul said he wouldn't get married until he had 2 cars, a house with a garage. And, you know, he wanted to bring some things, you know, mind you, I knew that. And then when I got there, you know what I saw. So I was like, I'm just trying to figure out where they don't line up, my brother.
Right.
But I think that, it's a difference now when you say don't wait that long. But back then you took the time to court and to date and to, you know, wait.
But to your point, your situation was stalled with purpose.
Right.
So that you're not who
that
I'm
don't
talking
count.
about.
I don't even think it was stalling. I think your relationship was just progressing.
Right.
And that's how your relationship progressed. I think when we talk about don't wait, I think it's those relationships where you have women who are with men who make it clear that they really aren't interested in marrying.
Oh yeah, no.
Because they're not talking about marriage. They're not doing anything to build a life with you. You know, they are enjoying being single. So when we talk, at least me, when I speak about waiting, that's what I'm talking about. The men who just aren't living, even if it's 10 years, they're not spending 10 years with you building a life, building something that looks like a marriage. You know, those relationships where you think the person is already married, stuff like that. And also, I think it's important too to be honest with yourself about the reality of your relationship. A lot of times we know this man is not interested in marrying us, but we think we can change him. We think, oh, I can do this. Some women have babies, all these things, thinking that we can change how he sees us. So just be honest. I think it's important to be honest with ourselves on, you know, the role that we really play in the relationships that we're in.
Yep, I agree 100%. Mr. Forge Man said, reality doesn't meet fantasy. The real deal is that life is not a fantasy. Therefore, he may be viewed as a Boaz, but reality, a man who loves you will move the world for you. And that's what I meant, Tanya, as far as Raul was concerned. Yeah, we joke about the fact that you walked into an empty apartment, but the truth of the matter is he was trying to move worlds to get you here. He'll figure out the rest later. And unfortunately, he was in that age group to do that.
Right.
You know, 48-year-old Raul would have been like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do now. And then planned a little bit further. But 20-year-old, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Kiera, you kind of touched on what I wanted to kind of hint on and give kind of examples, practical examples. So where those of the single people that are in the chat and they're like, okay, again, that's easy for y'all to say, but it's the red flags for me. How do I know this person is the one? If, you know, let's just go and naming some things out. For an example, if you're trying to see if this person is the one for you and you're having a hard time getting in touch with the person, they're not reliable. And ladies, let's just put it where the ghosts can get it. Sex cannot be the thing.
It cannot be.
No, it can't.
Go ahead.
Again, how we talked earlier, you know, if you're looking to get married, you're in it for the long haul.
Yes.
And everything that happens with life over time.
Come on now.
You know, how when you get married, you good and fine. He putting it down. Life happens. And 10, 15 years later, y'all in a different situation. So it has to be more that it has to be.
Did you see our faces?
We all understand, honey. You don't have to talk that loud. We hear you.
Right.
But you know what? Can I say something here? I didn't understand that then because people would tell you that.
Yeah.
But you keep walking this walk and you'll learn exactly what they're talking about.
That's right.
Sometimes when somebody is talking and you're young and your life is on a different path, you don't understand that. You like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but keep pressing towards the mark.
Listen.
You be happy to get the prize. But you have to keep pressing, but I didn't understand at that time. I'm like, what they talking about? I don't get it. I was coming home and lay in the bed and tell Raul and be like, oh, you know what we about to do? I told Raul, I said, oh, I understand now.
After kids and stuff.
Yep, Joanne.
You know, what I was getting ready to say is, you know, this whole idea of the fantasy that our bodies are even going to be different. And we need to some of the older people, we need to tell the truth. Sometimes you have physical things going on in your body that is not responding well. And so sometimes you may need some help.
Right. Right. Totally agree.
And so, you know, I hear people trying to make people feel bad about, well, something must not be right. Honey, just like the old folks say, keep living.
Keep living.
You're going to understand.
By and by.
And then some days you have good intentions.
Right.
Showered, everything in the bed. We look at each,
don't forget sleep.
And we look at each other.
Sleep is the best thing you can
in the morning, baby.
I see you in the morning. Right.
That's my favorite line there. Let's do it in the morning.
Right.
I'm tired.
Listen, and that's why reason number 99 that I chose, y'all. I'm having so much fun. Bless says, I love this discussion panel. This should be ongoing. You all make a great show. Thank you. Yeah. I'm low-key trying to convince them. So just keep it on the low, Bless. I'm gonna just keep inviting them before they realize it. Wait a minute.
Why we on here every week?
So yeah.
I want to say something though about, because I think this has been very evident during COVID for those of us who have been locked down with our spouse and significant other. We talk about all those grand parts of relationship and what you should look for and how you know he's the one. You know, we speak of love in this roses and sunshine and rainbows perspective, but you genuinely have to like the person that you are with. Like, you know, when you and that became very apparent to me.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure I knew it before COVID, but when you have to spend every day with this person, then I started to realize, why does my husband make so much noise when he eats? It's like, so it's like little things like that you have to be in it for all that stuff. So we talk about those major things, but it's those little things that when you're spending constant time with somebody, you have to be willing to deal with all that stuff and stuff that's on your side also.
Because what people see is what we present.
Right.
And one thing I know about you guys, of course, whatever your struggles are in your marriage, that's your business. Right. But at the end of the day, I know that at least on this set, you guys, that's what you work towards. We are friends. When I tell you, and that was one of the things that Joanne prophesied and spoke over Vanilla and I, and we held on to that from our wedding day on. He is my absolute best friend, the best friend that gets on my last nerves at times.
Hello, somebody.
But when it's time to go to the mall, travel, this, that, and whatever, he is the first person. Now, I understand all relationships aren't like that in the sense of you guys have all these external girlfriends and guy friends and all this other stuff. But like you said, we made it through COVID because we are friends.
Yeah.
I go down and I check on him in the office, and I'm so like, I would not know what to do after a year and a half. This guy's been home. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, like, and he, you know, thankfully he's still home and everything. But I know some people, they're ready for their husband to go because they generally do not like this person.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering if this person is the one and you don't even like the person,
Right.
You've answered the question yourself. You really don't like it. And so let's talk about this. Falling in love with the idea of being married.
Can I go back to COVID before you do that?
Yeah.
We had went through counseling maybe about March. We had went through counseling right before COVID. So I guess I would say the latter part of November, October.
Right.
So when COVID came, you know, you're thinking you just went through counseling. You know, nothing happens in counseling. It's after counseling where all the work.
Oh, definitely.
The counseling is good. You can do that. You can keep going and weekly
counseling.
Yeah, but let me tell you. So we went through the counseling, but now after counseling is over, here we go. March hits. We had just come back from Hawaii because I used to teach children's church, and one of my babies from children's church got married. So we went back, and it was just Raul and I. We went to the wedding, came back, and then like that was our last trip. And then March, COVID hit. Yeah. When I tell you that COVID was the best thing for our relationship with building, I worked every day at a table. Raul sat across from me, not at the table, but he would be in the living room. But when I tell you, Raul would have projects, I would help with projects, I would oversee projects. But I told Raul, can you imagine before, if this COVID had hit in October and we really didn't care for each other, what the difference would have been? I said, but COVID was so beautiful for us. I know it. I always talk about the negative part of COVID, but I told Raul it was a blessing for our relationship because we needed that.
Yeah.
The kids were there, but we, you know, my house is big enough. I didn't know they were there. They were downstairs. We were upstairs. You know, I never saw them, but it made our relationship grow daily. Like it was the best thing to go out and to go to the grocery store and to go together. We would say, okay, we're going to go here together. And I'll drive you because it was the protection part. Because make sure you're wearing your mask or you go in. Let me get you some hand sanitizer before you get back in the house. It was the little things that young people wouldn't understand.
Right.
But it was the things that built us and made us stronger. When we walked in the house from going to the grocery store, go take your shower. Let's go take a shower because we've been in the elements. Those were the things that made our relationship so much stronger. So I know COVID, not that I celebrate COVID in any form or fashion, but when I tell you, when COVID came and the time that we spent together, it was such a blessing, y'all. Like, it built our relationship and changed our marriage forever.
Yeah. So let's talk about this, because this is something else I was pondering about. How do I know that he was the one? In a practical sense, if you're in the chat and you're wondering, okay, is this person the one? Is that person the one? My husband wanted better for me. He wanted better for us. So if you have someone in your life that you're pondering if this is the one, Keandra, Tanya just said it. He was my protector. He wanted to help provide. And also, he wanted me to do better, but he was also my support. So if you're adding someone in your life and he's not even trying, because men, one of their roles are to protect, to protect. So is he protecting you? Whatever that means, because it's going to look different for different people, but ultimately, is he bringing you down or is he uplifting you?
One of the things I wanted to share too is this whole idea of his extended family, his friends. If he also, number one, if you ain't never met his mama or his sisters or his favorite auntie,
Hello.
And they have a relationship and he loved them, red flag.
Right.
But second thing is too, they love you enough to protect you from the toxic people in their life too. So if they not protecting you from the toxic people, honey, there may be something else too. So you need to think about that too, because sometimes he's preventing you. If he says leave cousin Joe alone, he telling you. Don't be trying to be forcing. Well, you really should have make up with your cousin Joe and all that. You better leave that alone. Let it go. Because there is a reason behind that. So protector in that sense of also making sure to protect your peace. Because some people he want to keep you away from. You better listen.
Kara?
Same thing. Because security was a big it was really important to me. I grew up with a mother and father in the home. And when my dad passed away, 6 months, well, actually a year into our marriage, at that time, my parents had been married 35 years. So I had a great example. So as much as I believe at the time of a marriage, of course, now that I have a family of my own, I understand how we sometimes protect our kids from the reality of our relationship. So I now know that my parents probably did a lot of that. But for the most part, there were definitely some advantages of seeing their relationship. So for that reason, my father was a huge protector of our family. So that role of the man was very important to me personally. And I saw that in my husband, not just for me, but his family members and the way he treated people. And it was just a part of who he was. So to see anything other than that would have been a red flag for me, or trying to manipulate me and even that trust to believe that he was the only person that can protect me, to now take me away from my family or other responsibilities that I may have. I think those are also red flags. Also, I would encourage any woman today, especially in this social media age, not just to get to know that man's reality, but make sure that he's including you in his reality. That means, is he inviting you to Thanksgiving? Because you know he does all these things, right? Because he's either talking about it or posting pictures on Instagram. So does he ever invite you to these events? And if he does he keep you a secret, or is he making sure that either his family knows you or he's posting you? So what does that look like? Especially when you have these people, they are very active on social media until it comes to you. He's very active, but then when you want him to post a picture of you and him, oh no, I don't post pictures. Well, you just post it like every day. You were posting pictures. So I think it's important to see those things as red flags also.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the family member that I know who shall remain nameless, that's the game. And I jokingly, a couple of us joke about it, and I'm like, I don't know how he gets away with it, because but that is so common. Like I hear that so much with the females that are dating. Well, he just doesn't and then this new thing that they've crafted, it's not that he's a secret, it's none of your business. And I'm like, I don't know what this newfound love thing that y'all have going on, but everybody that I know that has ever been in love, ever been in marriage, they wanted to shout it from the rooftop.
Yes.
From my husband to myself to you guys, God knows, not even trying to be funny, but my kids used to mimic the way Tanya said Raul, because she just loved her some Raul, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to my point, you want to shout it from the rooftop. So I don't understand this secret covert thing that's happening nowadays. And because, like you said, we're public he's public with when he's
everything
with boys, when he's
right.
whatever. But when it comes down to you, ma'am, he don't want to post you. Something is not right.
And I think the point, to your point, I think it goes back to being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Why aren't you really posting him? It's not that you're private. It's because you think that he might have some other girlfriend, or you might learn some things about him that you really don't want to know, or you think he's the bomb, but somebody about to tell you, girl, his teeth messed up. You know, so it's little things like that. Those are the real. It's not that you want to be private, because I side-eye anybody, especially, and I know you've been looking for a man all this time. Now all of a sudden you got one, and you don't want nobody to see him. You just showing his shoes or his. You're not trying to be private. That's not.
Listen, it's not that deep. You know, I was just sitting here thinking, and it came to my mind. We all grew up in the church world. All three of us have had our marriages in church. I'll say it that way. So our church world, our churches were our Instagram. So can you imagine? Think about it.
Why is that though?
Oh my goodness!
Church, it really.
I like that, Melissa. That's good, girl.
Our church was our Instagram.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like I said, when we met, we were staying after for this counseling thing to become counselors. What if he would have told me to keep it on the down low still? Or he don't want to sit by me or whatever. It's the same thing, you know? And so I just think back, and ladies, that's a huge, huge red flag that a lot of people, a lot of you are ignoring. Like you're ignoring it, and you should not. That is not normal. When you're talking about true love, true happiness, and you haven't posted anything when you're already active on social media.
Right.
Nah.
We wouldn't have made it back then on social media, because, you know, Raul, my husband has a fake Facebook page. I think I ran it for the first 10 years. And so he's not a poster. I just can't imagine. He's not a poster at all. Like he told me, I post too much. I said, well, let me do you a favor. You ain't got to be my friend. So we've been friends for 5 years. Right. And then as the kids grow up and they graduate and they're leaving, he'll be like, can you put that on my page? See? I said, we're not friends, remember?
We're not friends.
We're not friends. You don't like, because I post the kids all the time. He was like, you just post all the time. But as they get older and the kids are growing, I have 2 in college. Now we're friends on Facebook now, y'all, but I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't have an Instagram. He don't either. But it's amazing how I just think if I had to go through Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook, where would we be? Because Raul was not that person at all. Like he's not, he's just not into that.
I could tell you it's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess until it's not. That's all I could tell you.
No, thank you.
It's a mess until it's not. You have some guys that are on it and find themselves in trouble, and then they figure it out, and they like, well, this ain't it. Wow. And then you have some that are on it and stay on it and stay on it, and it's a mess. So that's why I said it's a mess until it's not. Which leads to my next point, and maybe our last point, the idea and fantasy of a man. So I know that we all at one point in time have heard someone say, I want what you have. I want someone like
you. Grass on the other side. No, thank you.
Right. You don't even know what this takes.
Baby.
Yeah.
Listen.
No, thank you.
You want your own person.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, if they I even tell my daughters, you know, they think their daddy walk on the water, child.
Come on now.
And a couple
they think they daddy walk on water.
Yes.
Girl, I got 2 daughters too.
I got 3.
And then I got 2 granddaughters.
No wrong.
2 granddaughters too.
Oh Lord, that's 5. Is that 5? No, 4. That's 4. Oh no, not interested.
So, honey, so every now and then I have to say, really?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Daddy's always right.
Yeah.
Daddy.
They know I love him. But so too, what do you think Adam been through?
Pull up a seat.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and y'all know I love my husband.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys don't know me that well, but Missy know I love that man. I love him too. But honey, sometimes.
But that's the conversation that's missing.
It is.
That's the conversation that's missing because, you know, my daughter just got married. She's been married for about 2 months and she wanted this grand wedding and this and that and the other. And I said, you know what? The times that I've cried over your dad or we've been through things or whatever, that wedding was the last thing that kept us.
Yes.
That got us through and got us over whatever it is that we were going through. I say it's the character that matters. And so I'm listening to you. It's absolutely right. You know, we look at Hollywood, we look at Facebook and it's so cute and it's all this other stuff, but there's not a lot of conversation about how you get to point A to where you are now. Right. There's a lot of stories in a lot of chapters. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they were horrible and cheating or this or that. Right. It doesn't necessarily always mean
just chapters.
It's just life.
You know, it's just life. Yes. You know, learning how to communicate as one, learning how to problem solve. Yeah. Growing up together. You know, him
navigating.
Yes. The girls, the kids, the this, the that. Him thinking, you know, in some ways you're still 20 and you're like, no, I haven't liked purple since I was 15. You know what I mean? Right. And he's like, well, what's your purple favorite color? No, it's this. So that's the other thing that I want to just really press upon you guys that yes, the interaction is cute and it is real. And I can tell you, vouch for these 3 relationships. It's real. But I know it took work because mine takes work.
Yeah,
every day.
And so when you look at someone who was married for 5 years and divorced or divorced after so and so however many years or whatever, I don't judge them because somebody said I'm done working.
Right, I'm done. I can't put in no more time.
I can't put in any more time.
Yeah, and it's no different than going for a degree. You know what? I want to do this, but guess what? You get tired, you get weary. Do you stay in there and fight, or do you let go?
Right.
That's what a marriage is to me. You either have to, and I'll keep saying, I press towards the mark for the prize of the high call of God in Christ Jesus. You got to keep pressing every day. It may not be what you wanted, but you got to press. Sometimes I look at them and I smile and I say, I know why I said I do.
Right.
You know, you can't get frustrated or weary in well doing. You got to keep pressing.
Absolutely.
Keep pressing.
I agree.
And believe that there's a brighter day.
And you know what, the commitment, we've been to several really tough points in our marriage. And we came to the conclusion that we're better together.
Yes.
That's it.
That's right.
That's it.
And that is the truth. We done been through everything, deaths and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But we said we're better together. And it was a commitment that we decided that we were going to do this thing called life together. Yeah. And I am not casting stones at anybody else who gave up because I was at a point a couple times. I'm like, you know what?
A couple times.
Several.
A couple.
I mean, a few weeks ago, probably.
So, right. But that's important for people to hear. Yeah. Because that's the God honest truth. And sometimes I remember Bishop used to say, and I loved it when he said that, sometimes separation is good for reunification. So even people that have been separated or divorced and back together or just divorced, and I don't judge none of y'all, because I know the work that it takes to keep it together.
Yes.
I absolutely know the work that it takes. But if you're looking to be married and you're not ready for the work, that's where the problem comes in at, because you think, oh, he's the one and I'm not going to have to work. He's never going to make me angry. He's never going to disappoint me. I'm never going to disappoint him and all this stuff. And that's simply not the truth. It's not the truth. And what you see, these Instagram relationships, and it's not real life. It's not reality of a solid relationship. I chose these people because in their whatever state that they're in, I knew that these were solid women with solid relationships, period. And they would add to this conversation in a truthful, authentic way. And you guys have done that. So let's see. Blessed Reborn says it takes a lot of work to make a green lawn.
Hello.
And as long as you're still breathing, the lawn is still gonna get crap on it. The dog gonna walk by and still crap on it.
Right.
So, you know, me and my husband, we sit back, because after so many years, you begin to see your dreams come to pass. And you begin, hopefully, to see the faith, that the things that you've sowed in faith and believed God for. You know, like you said, I mean, Kiara, your baby, he's still a baby, but just to think back, he's gonna be in high school with a car, and Tanya and Joanne, we're living that. Like, our kids are grown, and they like, we be back, and I'm like, what? You know. And I want to talk about that one day with you guys too, just talking about how that can be pressing on your marriage as well. How, especially as a woman, and these are our babies, and they're going through stages. And I'm telling you, men don't feel it the way we feel it. Most men. Y'all, I boo-hoo cried. He got rid of my mommy car and got him an F-150, and I boo-hoo cried. And to him, he was like, "But you said you know, the babies are big now, and I just wanted a truck." But to me, that was the end of a chapter. You know? And I mean, boo-hoo cried. But see, and then I wanted that third row seat, okay?
For what? We don't know, but we needed it.
Right.
I didn't want to get rid of mine.
You know, I don't know what I needed that thing for.
I needed it for when the girls go off to college and we go pick up their stuff.
No, we put it in the hatchback now, in the little thing, the little bed.
Well said, but she got a whole house. She not coming home. I said, but in case she need to move out. He said, but she owned the house. I said, I know.
Right. Trust me, I know. But again, the conversations and me being mad at him because he didn't quite understand what I was going through in that moment. Again, it's just ages and stages of what we're going through, but also allowing them to be vocal about their things. You know, but yeah, I was upset about that. I was like, I mean, this was at least 2 years ago. And here we are in this house.
Well, mine was in July.
Yours was in like, no, this was a while ago. But then I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, we really could downgrade. But then I'm like, no, I don't want to downgrade, because what if when the kids come back and the grandkids, they can all have their own rooms and So again, ladies, you're thinking about having the one. Is this person the one? Honestly, once you get past, okay, this character, I love what you said, Tanya, even though my husband and I did not do this, going through seasons with them, you know, and more so than seasons, what do they do when they get paid? What about their bills? What about how do they handle their bills?
There you go.
How does he keep his car? To me, that says a lot about a man.
Oh yeah. His shoes and his nails.
His shoes and his nails.
And his nails.
Look.
And those
I'm sorry, his shoes and his nails.
Look like, girl?
What his feet look like? What his feet look like? I'm telling you. But again, and we're gonna come back and talk about this, because the other part that I want to piggyback on is, okay, you found the one, and what does the one look like? Because me and Raul could never work, because that's Tanya's Raul.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kiara and Vanell could never work because he belongs to me.
That's right.
You know, so we have to, that's the problem again with Instagram, because they've got this patty cake made up man that you guys are waiting for. And I'm here to tell you, he's not coming.
No.
Right. And I tell Raul all the time, I said, Raul, you 6'2". Why you pick a woman that was 5'2"? I'm so short.
Yes, same.
I say that all the time, like he's
Joanne,
so
you too? All of us, actually. Well, you and Tap about the same size.
Yeah, he just a little bit taller than me. Yeah.
Yeah, he a little bit taller than you, but all of us.
Look, my husband's 6'5".
Mm-hmm.
Really? Oh yeah.
And she was a little like that. She about this tall.
Oh, you like me?
Yes. Hey, I'm 5'1". I'm 5'1", and they keep saying 5'9".
Wow.
Yep. Oh, and Bless said, and how he handles his bills. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what was you saying, Joanne?
Well, I was going to say, about, what does that man look like? Well, he looks different at different stages.
Oh,
and I know
true.
one time I told him, and one of the things I told him, he was like, if you didn't have me and had such and such and such, what would you have? I said, he'd be balling because he got me.
Right. That's right.
I'm just saying.
That's right. That's right. Because not to get deep in spiritual. Yeah. Because not even to get deep in spiritual, my husband and I talk about this idea of a helpmeet all the time. And you know what? When I was preparing for this, I grabbed my first wedding ring because I wanted to make a point, because we look at everybody on this side. This house represents nowhere near our first apartment.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
The cars that we drove, and my first ring, good Lord, you wouldn't even be able to see it on camera, let alone it's in there. So again, you got to get these ideas out your mind and get to the truth and the root of things to know, regardless of who I say, you got to be on the same page. And that's what I'm hearing. The commitment, like Vanilla and I have said also, we're better together. Yeah. Both of us come from broken homes with single mothers, both of them teenage mothers, single mothers, no father, And we were like, you know what? We don't want that for our kids. Mm-hmm. We want to be better. Being better together doesn't mean that we don't have things that we're going to work on, but it's that commitment. Mm-hmm. It's that commitment. And there's things that we could talk about, on another time, but there's practical things that you can do as you're striving to be better together, and foolishness and mayhem. And okay, so what do you happen? We're trying to be better together, but you're trying me.
Right.
What does that look like? So that's a whole nother day, but it's the commitment. So as you're trying to figure out, is this person the one? The question is, try their commitment level. Mm-hmm. What are they really committed to?
And that's a daily commitment. Every day we rise and say, I do, all over again.
Girl.
Every day. Joanne talked about the different stages that we all go through. Every day you have to be committed. When we talk, when you see people on Instagram and social media, or even your role models, and you see them at this current stage, even us at this current stage, we didn't start out here. Mm-mm. This is not where we started out. So even when you see people and you aspire to be like them, make sure that you are honest about the stage that you are on, and don't expect to start out where they are now. We put in 15 years.
Yeah.
Your year one absolutely will not
compare to your 15.
Just like my year 15 will not look like your year 36.
Nope.
So, and we have to set our expectations on that level. That way we don't get disappointed. That way we're not trying to do something that just will not happen. That way we're not trying to be millionaires when these people done spent, years building up their business from the ground, their relationship from the ground, all these things. And we want, the end result, not recognizing that there was a journey to get there. So I think that's also important when we talk about whether or not he is the one, and setting those expectations for a relationship. Make sure that your expectations are built on the reality that fits the current stage.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And the other part about that is to definitely add on to what you're saying. Age matters also, and having an understanding, generally speaking, because we're all different, but there's some general truths about women, a 20-year-old woman. There's some general truths about a 30-year-old, very general.
Right.
But if you have no clue about men and how they think and how they operate, you're going to be having an expectation of my 48-year-old husband for your 20-year-old guy. Exactly. And that is very rare.
Yeah.
That is very rare because they just don't think, he does not think some things. Absolutely. He never had a problem working. He always was a worker, always provided. He always protected and stuff like that. But the way he problem solves now was not necessarily the same way he did when he was 20. Absolutely not.
That's right.
I mean, Raul sold his whole house. Like he was like, and that made perfect sense to him.
Gotcha.
I just got it here. But again, 40-year-old Raul, I guess we call him in the room. Raul, what would you have done different? Well, I probably would have did this.
Right.
But she was still going to be my girl.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So when you're asking yourself about this person being the one and looking, there's nothing wrong with having role models. I told you guys, I looked up to Joanne and her marriage and just different people, but not trying to mold myself into her or anybody else and mold him into somebody else. He's not that person. Tanya, I appreciate and love the fact that you spoke on planning the birthdays and stuff like that. That's my job. And for so many years, I took that as he don't love me. But that just wasn't his thing. I'm the one planning the trip or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Now, here's the thing. If I wanted him to plan something very specific, like, babe, okay, plan this, and then he didn't do it, that's completely different. But the spontaneousness of, let me plan, he's just not gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna bring the flowers, he's gonna blame this. He does what he does or whatever, but we have to be careful when we're talking about, is he the one and who we're comparing it to, because TV will have, or Instagram and Facebook will have us thinking that this perfect man, the I do man, is going to be Mr. Romance, and he's going to do this and do that. And the post that I really, really hate is, he could have asked me to marry him with the ring pop, but then you saw that reel? So basically it's a reel on Instagram, and the girl is talking and she's like, he could have asked me to marry him with the ring pop, but instead, how did it go? I killed his bank, or I killed his bank, his bank account or whatever. And so she's showing her ring and whatever. How silly.
Right.
How absolutely silly. Again, times get tough, times get rough. I don't care how big your ring is. Hollywood will show you that. Hollywood will show you that. These people have all the money in the world, so to speak, and still are miserable. Yes. So it has to be more than just money. It has to be more than that. It's a character thing, really. It really is. Let me see. And how he handles his bills, marriages, custom made. Yeah. And it's not. There's some truths that we all can share, and we can say, you know what, this is what I learned, and I learned to do this. There's a lot of stuff that I heard at 20. It just did not click until I was a good 35, 40. That's what they mean. One come to mind, girl, just be quiet. Just be quiet. It'll come, because I want to pounce.
I want to say it.
Huh?
I say, I used to be like, because I used to hear that a lot. And I'm like, I'm saying what I got to say. He going to hear it. I'm going to say it the way I want to say it, all that stuff. No.
It's wisdom and waiting.
Yes.
So much wisdom and waiting and not pouncing in so many ways. But it takes time to get to that and to understand that. And hopefully conversations like this will kind of open the door to where people, okay. I read the private chat. Sorry. But it's this made up idea of marriage. So yeah, we just got to get beyond that and really look at what it is that we're trying to accomplish for ourselves. So that's that working on ourselves part. So what'd she say? Someone said, just be quiet, finally learned. Well, there's a time and a place.
Right.
I'm not gonna say I just be quiet. It's just I don't pounce at first impulse.
Right.
Sometimes I sit on information. Sometimes I
choose your battles.
And you choose.
That's a great life skill actually to have. You just have to choose your battles. Some stuff is just not even worth it.
Right.
It's not even worth it.
Nope.
I remember one time in counseling for us, I'm really embarrassed to even admit that we spent paid time in counseling talking about this, but it was about me being annoyed about something as simple as the way he loaded the dishwasher. And we actually spent time in counseling discussing this, to the point where our therapist, she said, but does it really matter?
Right.
She asked, and because I was serious, like it needs to be done like this. And she said, but does it really, in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter?
Nope.
Shouldn't you just be happy that he loaded the dishwasher, that he tried to help you, that, you know, he pitched in, but you want to talk about, and I felt so ashamed when she framed it that way. But it's like, choose your battles. Is it really necessary? Is it really necessary? So when we talk about being quiet and not saying anything, for me personally, it was in moments like that.
Yes.
Does it really matter?
Nope. Because for me, I know I can make a mountain, a molehill out of a mountain. Absolutely. And how he does the dishes or whatever, that's a molehill. Like, I don't have to argue about that or whatever. But if you want to nag and be controlling and all this other stuff, it can turn into something really, really ugly, because it's really never about the dishes. It's not about it. It's something different.
It's something underlying.
Yes.
Exactly.
For me, it was control. That's why.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what that was about for me. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So y'all, before we head out, I want to get, because Tanya, you got to leave, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I want to give you your last final words before we meet again with our next topic. See how I did that?
We see how you threw that in.
Yes. Give us your final words of encouragement, and just really how do the people in the chat that are single, what is your ultimate advice that you want to leave them with?
If I was to leave something with them, it would be to first of all, I love God first, and second, I love Tanya. And I'm not gonna go against what my father has ordained for me, but I'm also gonna make sure at all times that I love myself. Once I love myself, then once you learn to love yourself, God will direct you to the person that's gonna love you just as much as he is, because you're the apple of his eye, and he's gonna make sure that you receive what you're supposed to have in this life. So I would just, I mean, if I could say anything, and I say it to my girls, wait on God. Keep your hand in his and he'll guide you.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you, Tanya, for joining in. We're going to close out here in a second, but I know you got to go. So thank you. And I will see you again. They will see you again.
All right. Good seeing you, ladies.
All right. Good evening. Love you, girl. Thank you as always. All right. Y'all, this has been so good. I am beyond blessed, because it was just a great conversation. I don't hear this enough. There's not too many people I can click on to get the real deal, honest truth. Yes, in some marriage retreats, but you got to pay for it, and then you got to go to it and all this other stuff. And then maybe somebody will be transparent or not. But I appreciate you guys sewing and taking your time out. And we're going to do this again. I've written down so many other things to kind of piggyback off of this. So I hope you guys enjoyed yourself enough to want to come back. Hopefully.
This was a very good and healthy conversation. I think that's
absolutely
important, because people do go online and talk about marriages and relationships, but they aren't having healthy conversations. And healthy conversations are rooted in love. That's number one. And that includes love for God or whoever your higher being is, love for yourself, love for whatever it is that you're trying to build. So I think that's important. And I love that part of our conversation, that this was a very honest and healthy conversation about relationships and marriages.
Thank you. So I agree. Final words, Kiera. Final words.
My final word to any woman or anyone in the chat would be to trust trust yourself. I think a lot of times, and it's because of all the images that we see, all of the information that we consume, it has led us to second guess everything that we know, what we've been taught, what we believe. And it has caused us to be in a place where we just don't trust ourselves. And in relationships, when you're looking for a mate, when you're dating him, when you're talking on the phone, when you're exchanging text messages, trust yourself. Trust those instincts that God has given you. Trust your discernment. Trust the red flags that you're seeing. Don't deny it. Trust all of those things. Trust yourself. That would be my last words.
Thank you, Joanne.
Listen, I cannot do anything better than the two ladies before me. They said exactly what I was going to say. It has been a wonderful, authentic. I feel good about being here. I felt good about the time. It's just a very, very authentic space. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So don't be surprised when I have the next question pinned and tell y'all, okay, see y'all Sunday. But yeah. So we have somebody comments before we head out. I love this. Thank you all for your wisdom. You're absolutely welcome.
Yes, you are welcome.
Thank you. I remember as a young engaged woman asking my aunt this, who was married for 15 years, and she didn't know, and she said, I don't know. Yeah. Well, you know, again, I think it all goes down to just being settled within yourself. Most of us weren't looking. Most of us were on the heels of a relationship that was ending. Most of us was just really in a good space and allowing God and time to do what it was going to do. And then we get back together and come together. I know my story is very unique in the sense that, you know, whirlwind. Like I said, we talked and boom. I know I love you. You love me. Cause I even asked him, you don't even know me. How you going? You don't know me like that. And he was like, I know enough about you and you ain't going nowhere. And here we are almost 30 years later. And I have zero regrets as far as that's concerned. But you just know, in just knowing there was something in us. So anyway, with that being said, ladies, thank you guys once again. I don't see any more questions. And, you know, until we meet again. Until we meet again, thank you guys. As always, this is a great conversation and I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.